welcome back to the Compliance Kitchen. I will continue my coverage, or brief coverage, of the sanctions development vis-a-vis the Russia-Ukraine situation. Before we get into that, and today I want to look at the EU sanctions and activity there, starting with February 22nd. Please note that what you hear on Compliance Kitchen is not legal advice, and it should not be used as such. Now, starting with February 22nd, the EU unanimously approved a package of sanctions in response to the Russian government's recognition of the so-called Donetsk and Luhansk republics, which are two regions of Ukraine. And so we've covered in previous two episodes how the US and UK reacted to this. And so similarly with EU, the sanctions package designated 351 members of the Russia State Duma who voted in favor of this recognition. They designated 27 individuals and entities who were playing a role in undermining Ukraine's territorial integrity, and they also targeted the economic relations between the two regions and the EU, similar as, or I should say exactly as they did in the Crimea case. And also they targeted the ability of the Russian state and government to access EU capital and financial markets and services. Now, just a little detour. Around this time was when Germany also stopped its certification process of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which means that the pipeline cannot enter operations. So then I will jump to February 25th just to kind of cover this in one episode. So on February 25th, EU came with additional wave of sanctions. They imposed sanctions directly on President Putin and Foreign Minister Lavrov, and adopted a wide-ranging individual and economic sanctions. They also agreed on a further package of measures covering Belarus. And on the individual sanctions part, this means freezing of assets of the Russian president and Minister of Foreign Affairs, and also imposing restrictive measures on the members of the National Security Council of the Russian Federation who supported Russia's recognition of the two regions, Donetsk and Luhansk in Ukraine, as independent entities. Europe was going to, or I should say EU, was going to also extend sanctions to certain members of the Russian State Duma. As far as economic sanctions in this package, there is financial sanctions targeting the energy sector of Russia, also the transport sector and technology sector, and there was also a note on visa policy. Now, altogether, the sanctions were to target about 70% of the Russian banking market. Those would be the financial sanctions, and also key state-owned companies, including in the field of defense. The idea was that these sanctions would increase Russia's borrowing costs, rise inflation, and gradually erode Russia's industrial base. Additionally, measures were taken to prevent the Russian elite's fortunes from being hidden in safe havens in Europe. The package itself further expanded the already existing financial restrictions, thereby cutting Russian access to the most important capital markets. It also prohibited the listing and provision of services in relation to shares of Russian state-owned entities on EU trading venues, and significantly limited the financial inflows from Russia to the EU by prohibiting the acceptance of deposits exceeding certain value from Russian nationals or residents, the holding of accounts of Russian clients by the EU central securities depositories, as well as the selling of euro-denominated securities to Russian clients. Now, moving to the energy sector sanctions. So the EU was prohibiting the sale, supply, transfer, or export to Russia of specific goods and technologies in oil refining, and was introducing restrictions on the provisions of related services. So by introducing such export ban, the EU intends to hit the Russian oil sector and make it impossible for Russia to upgrade its oil refineries. The transport sector, the EU introduced an export ban covering goods and technology in the aviation and space industry. The EU was also going to prohibit the provision of related technical and financial assistance in these areas. There was also prohibition on insurance and reinsurance and maintenance services related to the goods and technology in aviation and space industry. So this ban on the sale of all aircraft, spare parts, and equipment to Russian airlines would over time degrade one of the key sectors of Russia's economy and the country's connectivity, as 3/4 of Russia's current commercial air fleet were built in the EU, the US, or Canada. As far as the technology sector, the EU imposed further restrictions on exports of dual-use goods and technology, as well as restrictions on exports of certain goods and technology which might contribute to Russia's technological enhancement in the defense and security sectors. This prohibition will include products such as semiconductors or cutting-edge technologies. Now, in general, the term dual-use goods or technology refers to such items that can be used for both military and civilian purposes. As far as the visa policy, the EU said that diplomats, other Russian officials, and business people will no longer be able to benefit from visa facilitation provisions, which typically would allow privileged access to the EU. However, this decision was not going to be affecting ordinary Russian citizens. So altogether, the individual restrictive measures should at this point be applicable to over 650 individuals, over 50 entities, and they include asset freezes and prohibition from making funds available to those who were listed. Also, the travel ban applicable to the listed persons prevents them from entering or transiting through the EU territory.